everyone. Welcome to Build Sydney. I'm your host, Hayden Quinn, and today I am joined by Emily Browning, who plays Laura Moon on Amazon Prime Video's epic hit, American Gods. Now, if you're like me and you've seen season 1, you would have been captivated, blown away, all of those things. But let's check out season 2. Let's give it up for Emily Browning. Woo! Now, wow, that's pretty impactful, pretty amazing.
Pretty cool trailer.
But first up, welcome. Welcome to
you.
Build Sydney, and welcome home as well.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
I'm glad that you are in Australia with us because you spend so much time overseas. Mm-hmm. How is it being home?
It's the best. I've just been in Melbourne for a couple of weeks with my family, and it's just like... I miss home all the time when I'm away. I spend most of my time in LA now, but there are just so many things that I forget that I love about being here. Just weird things like weird TV and like weird chips and lollies. Like the first thing I do whenever I get back is I just buy a giant packet of burger rings and eat them. They don't have burger rings in America.
What are they doing?
I don't know what they're doing. They do have Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Have you ever had those? Like really, really spicy Cheetos, which are pretty good too. This is just going to be about snacks. We can
talk about snacks. We can talk about snacks. But I'm glad we're able to provide that with you and allow that reconnection with your home. What is it like to just get away from that craziness of LA and Hollywood and get down to Melbourne with your family?
Where I live in LA is kind of already pretty removed from the craziness. Like I'm kind of out on the east side, and it's a bit more. Where I live, like, almost reminds me of, like, I don't know if any of you are that familiar with Melbourne, but it almost kind of reminds me of like Brunswick or Fitzroy or something. Like it's very. There are a lot of good cafes and places to eat, but it's just my mum's out in the country in Melbourne, so just being there and like. She's like at the top of kind of a mountain, and it's just like bush and trees, and we have like some Labradors and just kind of, I don't know, running around in the sun. Like the quality of light in Australia is so different from anywhere else, just because there's no ozone layer. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just a different feeling. I just find as soon as I touch down, I just feel this like this kind of release of.
Yeah.
I don't know, trying to be whatever person you're supposed to be when you're in LA. It's nice to like let go of that.
Yeah, right. And is that family home, is that the same one you grew up in? Because obviously... It's
not. It's actually, it's only we've only been in this place for a few years. Right. It's my mum's house. But it's in the same area. So it's like, I'll go to the fish and chip shop, and it's like the same dude working there, and it's like a very small town kind of vibe. It's really nice.
And I guess a lot of our Australian viewers watching right now will think back and recognise some of your earlier performances in Australian film and Australian TV, including Blue Heelers.
Yep.
Which
I played I was caught shoplifting, and I was like a naughty, like little kind of rat bag kid. But then I think you found out that I was shoplifting because my mum had kind of like left me by myself, and I was actually shoplifting a present for her. It was very heartwarming. And then one of the cops actually like fostered me for a while. I had like a 4-episode arc. It was pretty...
That's an iconic Australian show, and that's the sort of stuff. And I guess when you look at your career, you go from Blue Heelers to now... American Gods, which
slightly different,
just a little. There was a car crash, wasn't there, in Blue Heelers at one point?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Sort of a parallel there.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is such an amazing, I guess, adventure you've been on to get to where you are, and American Gods being such a worldwide hit, you must look and just go, "Wow, it's cool."
Yeah, it's pretty. It doesn't. I don't have many moments where it feels like it hits me that much. The home that I've kind of created in LA is not dissimilar to my home when I'm in Melbourne. Like, I have a dog and a backyard, and just kind of spend a lot of time like going on walks, and it's not too crazy. And I watch so much television when I'm like it's disgusting how much television I watch, because there is so much good TV now that when we kind of sit down and watch American Gods when it's on, which I do, which is really kind of embarrassing and lame, but like, I don't know. I like to, some of the cast get together and watch it because we're losers. And it doesn't even really register. I think one moment that actually felt like that, oh, this is a big thing, was I was driving down, I think it was like on Venice Boulevard, and there was just a big Laura billboard. That
like this
was
one?
kind of, yeah, it was, I think it was a different photo. It was like just my face, like huge. Right. And it's also not like she's not the most attractive character I've ever played, like especially in season 2, she's like decaying. So the billboard is my face with like milky, like cataract contact lenses and like grey skin, just looking really gross. And I'm like, oh wow, my first billboard. I look
so proud,
just like trash.
I wish Mum could have seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's one of the things with the show. It is such an intense, full-on, incredible, gripping, dramatic show that when you're acting it out, it must be very different to when you sit on the couch and you watch and go, oh my God, wow.
Well, it's definitely, I mean, it's a lot less exciting to make than it is to watch. I mean, it's still exciting to make, particularly because we have a really great group of people. Like the whole cast we've all become such close friends. But, you know, it's like long days and moments of excitement with like a lot of waiting around in between. And it's the way that it comes together, obviously. I mean, it's edited down into 8 hours, but we shoot it for, 6 months. So yeah, it's exciting to watch it, but it's sometimes like, oh yeah, we filmed that little bit and that little bit and that became that bit. And there's a lot of like green screen and a lot of special effects, as you saw. So it's, yeah, it's strange. I feel like kind of when I'm watching it, I feel like I'm able to step back and kind of just enjoy it as a viewer, which is rare because I very rarely watch anything that I'm in. I'll like watch it once and then just not watch it again. Yeah, but American Gods, you kind of have to go back and watch a few times because if you haven't read the book, it can be slightly confusing sometimes.
Well, we're actually talking about that with some of the audience members. It's like, do you read the book first or do you watch the series? Like, what would you suggest? Should you go and read the book?
I think I actually didn't read the book until we finished filming season 1. I started to, and then Laura in the book, just because like, a novel can't automatically be a screenplay or else it would be just really tedious and weird and boring to watch because so much of it is like shadows in a monologue. And I gave up reading it until we'd finished filming the first season just because my character is really, really different in the show. And she's also in the show a lot, whereas she's only in the book and sort of like kind of sporadically. But I think what we've always aimed to do with the show is keep certain parts, like there are sort of benchmark moments that are like keeping it similar to the book, but then we also are attempting to add in new things that will be surprising. So hopefully people who've read the book and who really love it will still, won't just feel like, oh, I know what's coming next. I know what this is going to be. Because we've moved around the kind of structure as well. I think you can definitely watch the show without reading the book. You just have to really, I think it's like a double watch kind of thing.
It's not sort of one of those shows where you're just having it in the background and you're cooking dinner or you've got to be there.
Yeah, I feel like you do one watch for kind of the visuals and then another watch for like plot points and storyline and stuff.
Well, thinking about actually creating the project, what is a day in the life on set like for you? Because you talked about the milky contacts and then, you've got like arms that are sewn back on, chest that's zipped up. Is that all prosthetic or how does that all work?
So that was, in the second season, I am wearing this jacket for a lot of it. And the jacket was something that I tried on. It's like this amazing, like 70s, like silky red bomber jacket. And I have it with like aviator sunglasses and it's like I call it my 70s porn director look. It's like a really kind of sleazy vibe. It's kind of amazing. But that was very strategically chosen midway through the first season because it hides all of the prosthetics,
Okay.
which take, if we're doing the full chest, like the full Y incision, the kind of autopsy incision, it's 4 hours to put that
Ooh.
on, and then an hour on top of that of just like the regular makeup. And then if you see the arm scar, it's like another 45 minutes. So it's like,
Wow.
you know, in the chair at 4:30 in the morning, and then glue, and you have to take it off at the end of every day. And like for the first week of filming, I think I did it 5 days in a row, and then we realized we can't ever do that because I was just like covered in this horrible rash after it, because it's like really aggressive on your skin.
Damn.
So the first season was very different to the second in that sense, because the first season was a lot of that, and then the second season I was like, give me my jacket.
Give me my jacket and my aviators.
Yeah, exactly. The glasses also hide the contact lenses, which are really just the worst things ever. I guess regular contacts, I don't wear contacts, but they're kind of malleable and soft. But these contacts are hand painted. I don't know why. It's like, it seems like it's like artisan contact or something like that. It seems kind of unnecessary, but they're hard, kind of. They're like really stiff, and they make everything white, like really kind of opaque and white, which means that if it's dark on the soundstage, I need someone to hold my hand because I can't see. But then as soon as I look at a light, it's like searing into my retina. Like it makes the dark darker and the bright brighter, and it's just
insane.
It would get to certain points in the day where I'd be like, no. There are some scenes where I'm like, we have to CGI it because I can't stop crying. Like I'm just, my eyes are watering and they get like dry.
So the whole glitz and glamour of Hollywood isn't the case, really.
Yeah. I feel like the glamorous parts are like the parts where you get to do press and like get dressed up and everything. But actually filming is so not glamorous. It's crazy how not glamorous it is.
Oh.
It's just like, I feel like it's the perfect, I think the reason acting is the perfect job for me is because I have very poor organizational skills and I don't have very much self-discipline, and it's like an ideal job because it's like they pick you up, they dress you, they feed you, they put your makeup on, they drive you to where you have to go, they tell you where to stand and what to say. It's like ideal for like an ADD kid who's just like, someone just give me all of the tools I need to just do the one tiny little job that I have.
You make it sound very easy, but I'm sure it's not as easy as that.
I mean, no, the hard part is all of the stuff around that. It's just like, you know, sometimes we'll shoot for 18 hours a day and, you know, it's like there are so many little... The time spent each day actually, like where the camera is actually rolling, is such a small percentage of what you're doing. So much is like setting things up and rehearsing and, you know, like the insane amount of work that the crew puts into just like everything looking perfect and like lighting. It's kind of mental. I mean, it's really... Yeah, it's not glamorous. It feels like factory work sometimes. You're just like in these big like concrete stages, just like repeating the same thing over and over again.
Churning it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
When we watch the series, it really connects with so many real world, I guess, themes that we encounter every single day, from social media to religion to sexuality, so many different things. And I guess sometimes it's hard to know, is that me, or like, am I connected to that bit, or is that connected to someone else? How do I fit into this new world we live in? It's quite an interesting show in that it raises a lot of issues that we face as modern humans every single day. Yeah,
I mean, we finished filming season 1 like mid-October 2016, and I don't know if you guys remember what happened in November 2016. It was a bit of a dark time. But we, you know, so many of the themes in season 1 are, I mean, the way that we would always describe the show when we were doing publicity for it, the kind of like company line that we all would always revert back to in interviews is, you know, it's a story about immigration, essentially. It's about the fact that all of these different cultures and different belief systems and different kinds of people coming to America, like that's what makes America. Just to like subvert a tagline, that's what makes America great, and that's what makes it such an interesting and weird and multicultural place. And we're trying to tell like these very human stories about people that come from different cultures in like through the lens of like this kind of epic, weird fantasy. But we made that whole first season, like we finished it just before Trump was elected. And then when that happened, I remember watching the episodes as they came out and being like, wow, we really we kind of predicted some things.
You nailed it.
Yeah, it was weird. I remember Neil Gaiman at the premiere saying, talking about that and then saying I would, it makes the show better. But he was like, if I could trade the current political situation for a slightly less good show, I would. But if this is what we've got to work with, then that's what we've got to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really does. It touches on so many different things that, it is confronting at times. There's moments where you're like, oh my gosh, like.
Are you talking about the sex scene in the first season?
Well,
there were a couple of sex scenes that were
even the first episode, that sex scene
the
there
Bilquist
was
scene.
like, that was incredible.
Yeah. I don't know if all of you guys have seen it, but Bilquist, the god of love, consumes a man with her lady parts. She just kind of like
engulfs him.
That's how that's how people sacrifice themselves to her. It was pretty. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's like kind of an incredible, introduction to a show. But we also had, we had a scene in episode 3 of the first season that was a djinn and, one of his believers having this like really like magical, bizarre, like really tender and really hot gay sex scene, which was a thing that like I watched it the first time and I like teared up a little bit just because I'd never seen anything like that on TV before. Like two Middle Eastern guys, like one of them is a djinn with flaming eyeballs and the other like just kind of having, I don't know, just like really, it was a really like human sex scene, but then also, his eyeballs were on fire and he like shot fire. I don't know what we're allowed to say on this. It was all.
I think we get
fire.
what you mean. Yeah, it was just fire.
It was
on fire. The whole thing. It was hot.
Yeah. But it's really cool to be a part of something like that. It's kind of like pushing boundaries in certain ways. It's nice to be a part of it.
Well, even for me, when I was sort of diving into who you are, I sort of came across the fact that you've got a real activist, sort of a deep passion for a number of different issues. What drives you outside of the world of television and film and Hollywood?
Nothing. It's just TV for me, really. I mean, a lot of my world, as I've already mentioned, a lot of my world is TV, but mostly as a consumer. I mean, I grew up my parents are very, are very politically kind of opinionated, and I remember going to an anti-Bush march when I was like 10 years old or something. So it's kind of just a culture that I've grown up in, and I don't think it's. I mean, it sounds so naff and cheesy, but my parents, like the main belief that they instilled in me when I was a kid is just that everybody is innately equal and of the same value and deserves to be treated as such. And I think, there was never a plan in my mind to be like an activist, and I don't think I think I would have to be doing a lot more than I'm doing to be considered one. But the way that things are going right now, it just feels like if you have that kind of belief that everyone deserves to be treated with respect, you need to speak up about it, because it's just, I mean, I don't know. I don't need to explain it to everyone. It's just kind of a scary time. So I think most of the time I'm trying to keep my mouth shut about things, mostly because I live in America and I would kind of like to stay there. I don't want, I mean,
You want
not
to keep
forever,
that visa?
but I'd like to be able to go back. You know, my dog is there. So, but sometimes I just can't, there are just certain times when you just have that overwhelming feeling of like I have some kind of a platform and I just would feel shitty if I didn't say something. And you know, I'm definitely not claiming to be bringing any kind of, I'm not like really enlightening people or anything. I just have strong feelings about certain things and I'm not good at keeping my mouth shut, I suppose.
Well, I think there's nothing wrong with that. And recently we've seen in Hollywood as well a huge push around obviously women and amazing women in the industry. What's your take on that whole scenario when we look at, I guess, women in entertainment and film? You've been in it for a very long time now.
Yeah. I mean, I hearing so many of the stories that have come out, you know, because of like the Time's Up and Me Too movements, I feel so incredibly lucky that I have somehow magically managed to avoid any like, you know, hugely kind of traumatic events like that within the industry. But there's just always been, it just always was that if you were an actress, you just, even if it wasn't, it was just like implicit that you were mostly valued for what you looked like. And you were kind of disposable and you had, unless you were Meryl Streep or like a handful of like amazing people, you kind of had an expiry date. And also that if you ever felt the need to speak up about it, you weren't going to be listened to and you weren't going to be believed, and you just sort of had to accept that you were not going to be respected in the same way that the men around you were respected. And I think that there are a lot of things that still have to change, and it's like slow progress. But I do remember my first day on set, the first day that I was filming, I think it was for The Affair. I was for the first time after kind of all the Harvey Weinstein stuff and the Me Too stuff started happening, coming onto set the first day and just feeling comfortable and safe in a way that I hadn't before, just with that knowledge that if anyone treats me poorly now, I can say something and I'm going to be listened to. That's like, it felt like simultaneously like such a tiny thing and such a huge like life-changing thing. So the fact that that is still gaining momentum and like there's still a long way to go, but it feels really good. It feels like there's a lot of positive change happening.
Good. That's unreal to hear. Like that's power.
Yeah.
Hearing that from someone that's there every single day, that's powerful stuff. And it must mean a lot to know that that change is occurring. And even for everyone watching and listening, it's important to hear that feedback as well.
Yeah, and I think like obviously it's, you know, there's of course the argument that like, okay, great, things are changing in Hollywood, but that's like such a small percentage of the world. And that's totally true. But at the same time, the stories that we get to see on the screen inform our culture, and we want them to be a reflection of what's actually happening. And I feel like, you know, obviously there are so many other areas in which things need to change, and Hollywood is just this tiny thing, and it is this like kind of rarefied bubble. But it is important, and like what we're putting up on the screen is really important. That kids, you know, I like the fact that a kid who maybe shouldn't be watching American Gods, but like, you know, when you're a kid, you go, I remember like sneaking downstairs and putting on SBS like late at night when it was like the sexy movies, and like you learn a lot.
The weird
like
French movie,
yeah, exactly. And I love the fact that a kid watching our show is, you know, sees like we have like a really diverse cast, and we have like, I don't know, the fact that there is, I know I keep going back to this gay love scene. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with it, because it's amazing. That's why. But like that a kid could see that and be like, oh, like this feeling that I have is being validated by something that is like entertaining me at the same time. Like it's, I
sort
don't
of
know.
makes
I
it
think
normal. You see it on TV,
yeah.
it's like, oh, that's normal. Oh,
Yeah.
I can deal with that.
I think it's kind of important, and I don't want to, I definitely don't feel like, oh, what we're doing is really crucial to like the youth of today. It's not, but like it's something. It's meaningful in some way, I think.
Well, while we've been chatting, we've had a couple of questions come in from the audience. That was a little bell for the questions. So we've got one from Ewan here. Okay. He says, your contacts hurt, it's not glamorous, and you spent all day waiting around on set. What makes the Hollywood life worth it?
Good question.
Well done.
Where's Ewan? What should I talk? Oh, hi. Now I feel nervous talking directly to you. It's strange because it's even more than that. It's even more than just like putting up with the sitting around. And I mean, the sitting around is honestly on this show is really fun because I love everyone that's part of the show. But there's not much of the kind of actor lifestyle that I love or that really I feel really suits my personality. Like I'm so bad at posing for photos. Like it's unbelievable that I've been doing this job for 20 years and I like every time a camera's in front of me, I'm just like I don't know what to do.
What do I do with my hands?
Seriously, it's terrible. But the thing that makes it worth it, and it's really hard to describe eloquently. I was trying to describe it in an interview this morning and I think I did a terrible job. So I'm going to try and do a better job this time. The moment between action and cut, God, it's so cheesy. It's really cheesy. Just bear with me for a second. When you get to just be that other person, especially when the writing is good and when you're working with good people, it feels, again, it's super cheesy, but it can feel kind of like transcendent sometimes. Like you sort of get to be removed from yourself in a way that's just really freeing and exhilarating. And yeah, it's kind of impossible to describe, but like I just live for those little moments. And it's why I feel like I could have so much more money now if that wasn't the reason I was here. Like if I could just say yes to a bunch of jobs that were terrible and paid a lot of money, that would be awesome. But that's the feeling that I'm there for. And if I don't get at least a little bit of that feeling every day, then I get really, it's kind of like, it can be soul crushing. Like the industry without that little thing can be soul crushing, but with that, it feels like I wouldn't ever want to do anything else.
Awesome.
God.
Great answer.
Was
I think that was a
I don't know. I think
really
it was
good
kind of
answer.
lame.
We've just got one more question that's come from the audience. Now, this
Sure.
is bringing it back home.
Okay.
The audience has asked, have you been watching Married at First Sight?
Oh my God, this is the second time this has come up today.
And what do you think about it? You don't have to answer this because it's quite bad.
I am a big reality TV fan. Like I love when I am not working, I like to watch, interesting film and TV, and I want to watch like all of the kind of great performances and great directors and whatever. But when I have had a long day at work, I just want to come home and watch X on the Beach. I don't know if you guys have watched that. It's so good. It's so bad, but it's so good.
There's a few people nodding in the audience. They're laughing.
So Married at First Sight, my mum is obsessed with it. But she tried to get me to watch it the other night, and I'm coming in like in the middle, so I couldn't quite. I'm sure I would love it, and I'm sure she's going to make me watch it again from the beginning when I get back. So I'll have to get back to you on that one. But I love trashy TV.
If you love drama and you love cheating and scandal and love and
who
loss,
doesn't? Yeah,
Married at First
and
Sight's
just
for you.
mental people. I shouldn't
100%
use that word,
mental
but
people.
just like that's. I mean, it's great. I love watching that. It's disturbing how much we all love reality TV. We all need
Car
to
crash
take
TV.
a good, long, hard look at ourselves, I think.
Well, guys, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. Can we give a big round of applause to Emily Browning for being here with us today? And of course, American Gods is now streaming on Amazon Prime Video. Make sure you check it out. It's incredible. Thank you so much. Emily, we want to have you back next time you're in Australia.
Anytime.